Fuller from envisionselfhealing.com, and we're dedicated to help you improve your eyesight and quality of life by taking healing into your own hands. And in today's video I'm going to be looking at how the Hunger Games movie can be an eye exercise. Now, by no means am I suggesting that you should go out with a group of friends and go camp out in a park somewhere and try and hunt each other down for the day. Definitely not suggesting that, and I just want to clarify that from the beginning. But I am talking about the movie itself and how the movie could be a good eye exercise. Now, the area of the eye exercise that we're talking about that's going to help improve your eyesight and also reduce a lot of eye strain that you get from your daily lives is to do with dominance. Now, everybody has a dominant eye, and for most of us, about 2/3 of us, it's our right eye. And what we mean by dominance is that it's the eye that you favour, just like you do say your left or right arm. Most of us, again, tend to prefer our right arms as well. Now, there's no difference to whether you're a lefty or a righty as far as, acuity wise or your ability to use either or. It's just that when you're an infant and you're growing up, the eye chooses one eye which it wants to use the most, and it starts growing more nerve endings, and it becomes more dependent on that one eye, and it becomes stronger, the ability to use it. So as an example, this then becomes the eye that you tend to fixate with first. And what I mean by fixating is if you think about, say maybe even in the Hunger Games, when Katniss is, say, hunting the deer at the beginning of the movie, and as she's moving to try and track the deer in order to hunt it and kill it with her arrow, then both eyes are having to be fixate at the same time together. Now obviously they're moving separately. So when I say that one eye is fixating quicker than the other, say when she hears the noise from the deer and she looks off to the left, then both eyes are like this. Now the right, even though it's only a couple of milliseconds, is going to be quicker than the left if in her case she is right eye dominant. So the one eye is tracking quicker, and then you're able to follow both at the same time. Now, when you're younger, there is a less discrepancy between the two, but you do still have that one eye that we favour more and we fixate more and we're using more in our general everyday lives. So how does this affect us then in our modern day lives? Because not many of us are out there hunting or even take up something like archery. But it's affecting us because we still have that dominant eye in our everyday lives. So whether you're reading a book or using the computer or anything like that, or even if you're just out and about, you're still using this one dominant eye more than the other. Now, the problem with that is, just like anything, we start to overuse that one particular part of the body. So if I was to ask you just to use your right arm for say a couple of weeks, and you could never use your left arm, and you were going to do particular difficult tasks with the right arm, like doing light weights or something, then after a couple of weeks you're going to complain that your right arm is tired and you don't want to do it anymore. And also the left arm is going to gradually start to become weaker and weaker, so that when you call upon it to use the left arm, it's going to be more difficult to use and it's not going to be as strong. So the same is with our eyes. We're overusing that dominant eye because that's how nature intended, except we're overusing it and strain it. If you think about someone like Katniss, who's out in the wild, she's not sitting in front of a computer every day, straining her eyes. She's out looking in the distance. She's using her eyes a lot more naturally in a much more relaxed way. And when she does use it in an intense way to, say, hunt, it's only for a short period of time, and then she's able to relax again. But if you think about us, say if you're studying all day, and you're either in a classroom for say 6-7 hours a day, and you're focused at the work in front of you, and you're writing away, or maybe even you're locked up in a library all day researching for a dissertation or something, then you're really overusing that one eye constantly, and you're not getting that rest that it needs to get in order to be able to rest and then be more effective for the next day, and of course to prevent fatigue. And this is something a lot of you that experience eye strain when you spend a lot of time sitting in front of the computer, or a lot of people get headaches, and this is from that overuse. And in particular, I'm saying here that we're overusing that one particular eye, the dominant eye. So to help us do this eye exercise, to help work with the dominant eye and to allow us to rest the dominant eye, we need to know which one that is. Now this is something that, say in the movie The Hunger Games with Katniss, when she's using her bow and arrow, and the dominant eye is going to be the eye that she's focusing with and tracking with, and that enables her to be a lot more accurate with the shot. And it also means that if she focuses first with that eye, you might see some people close one eye first so that they can focus in with their dominant eye. Most people, it's very subconscious. I know in archery they train you now to try and use the dominant eye because it's that much more effective. But unless you have a bow and arrow, and again I'm not suggesting that you go out and start firing arrows, but another easy example is when you use a camera. And maybe not so much if you have a digital camera and you just use the screen, but when you use the viewfinder, just pick up any camera, hold it up to your eye, and you'll see, depending on which eye you hold it to, is the eye that you favour, and more likely that is going to be your dominant eye. Now, another common test that you can do, which might be a little bit more accurate, is to choose an object, say like a clock on the wall, and you want to stand, a good 20 feet away or just at the back of the room, and place two hands up like this, and you're going to make a circle or a triangle or whatever shape takes your fancy, and you're going to, with both eyes open, choose that object out into the distance. So then both eyes are focused on that one object. So now I'm looking at you through the circle here. Then what I'm going to do is close one eye and then close the other eye. So I'm here looking at you guys through here. I'm closing my left eye and then I close my right eye. Left eye, right eye. Now what you'll notice is when you're doing this, and you want to make sure that the circle is small enough. If you do it too big, then you don't notice too much of a difference. But for me, if I'm, say, looking at an object and I choose it and I put the object in the middle of the circle and I close my left eye, then the object stays right in the middle of the circle that I'm putting. Now if I close my left eye, if I close my right eye, then the object shifts and moves off to the side. Now the reason for this is because with both eyes open, remember before I said that you fixate with the dominant eye. So you're choosing that object, and that's the object that is in line of sight, we could say. If you're thinking about the arrow example, how we say a line of sight, or if you are using any sort of weapon, we call it as a line of sight. So if I close my left eye, because my right eye is the one that is aimed it up and set it up to be fixated, it stays in the same position. But when I close my right eye and I use my non-dominant eye, which is my left eye, the object moves because that's not what I'm trying to fixate on. So it doesn't work if you try and line it up with one eye closed and then you try and line it up with the other eye closed. You need to do it first with both eyes open, close each eye, and then the object that stays in the middle, the eye that's open, that is going to be your dominant eye. So the eye exercise that's going to help work with the eye dominance and rest this dominating eye and prevent it from fatiguing, and also using our non-dominant eye and bring back lots of strength and keep it nice and active, is just to simply cover the dominant eye and use the non-dominant eye, allowing this eye to rest and this eye to work. So there's a few simple ways of doing that. Some people would say an eye patch. There's a reason why we in particular don't like using an eye patch, and I'm going to explain that a little bit more with this piece of paper. I know it's not very technological, but we're trying to go back to just as Katniss would use her eyes naturally. We're only using very simple techniques to help, because it is a very simple thing to try and work around if, you know, either you catch it young enough or you just slowly work with it over time. You will bring the balance back between the eyes. So it's not a very difficult thing, you know, a challenging thing to work with, but it needs to be done frequently. So something like this, very simple piece of paper, place it on the bridge of your nose. Now my dominant eye is my right eye, so you can see here that my central vision is covered. But if you look to the side, I can still use my peripheral vision. Now the reason why that is important is we don't want to completely shut off the eye. We still want to keep it active, because we're telling the brain that both parts of, both eyes are still being used, they're still both active, but we're not allowing the central fixation to dominate with this eye. This eye is still being active and still see from the periphery, but this eye is then taking over as the main role for using the central vision. And that's why I'm not suggesting you to completely patch this eye, because then it's shutting the periphery off, so that when you take the patch off again, well, this eye just switches over straight back into dominance mode. So we want to try and keep this eye active now. A small piece of paper can be difficult. Sometimes you use them a lot of the time, or they just fall off. So something that we also like to do, and really the only time we use sunglasses, because we don't necessarily agree with using sunglasses all the time, only when you really need to. So what we do is we get a pair of sunglasses. There's a nice funky pair of retro glasses that I picked up for not too very expensive, and we popped out one of the lens, and then you just cover here with tape or black paper. I've put black paper on the inside there, so that when you put these on, the dominant eye, again you can see mine is my right eye, is being obstructed, but my left eye is not being obstructed, and I can use it freely. Now I tend to just put these on if I'm just out about in the house doing chores, or if I'm say on the computer or something, then I tend to favour the piece of paper, because it's something you can just have by your desk. The only downside with the obstructions in comparison is, of course, we talked about having that periphery, and here we're obstructing the periphery a little bit with these arms. So you want to try and keep the periphery as active as possible with that. So ideally we're doing this outside. You know, you're out in the park with your friends throwing a ball around. Maybe if you take the dog for a walk, then you could throw the ball for the dog using the dominant eye, or you know, just throwing a ball around or kicking a ball around. Then you're using this dominant eye covered, which is again why the covered glasses are better, because they stay on a little bit easier. But not everybody has that opportunity to do this outside. Not everybody else has the confidence to go outside and to wear the obstructive lenses. We're not yet anyway, but we're working on that. So, but you still want to be, you know, in your daily life able to obstruct it from time to time. So a good way of incorporating this into your lifestyle is, like I said, maybe reading, using the computer, or another great way is, say, if you're watching TV or a movie, and in particular I want to highlight The Hunger Games as a movie that you can use to do this eye exercise with. Now the reason is there's a lot of action in this movie, and remember we talked before about how Katniss used the eye to track from place to place in order to be accurate when hunting. Now you're doing the same when you're watching on a screen, you know, more so if you're watching this on a bigger screen. Your eye is still moving to place in order to find the action and track the action, and then bring the detail where it's then made up in the brain for you to then perceive that image. So if you've got the dominant eye covered and you're watching something that's fast action, just like something like The Hunger Games, then this non-dominant eye is tracking just like, not as good as if you were obviously out in the wild and doing it yourself, but you're still doing that tracking motion in order to keep up with the movie and also to follow it. So a small word of warning with this eye exercise of obstructing the dominant eye is to go easy to begin with. It doesn't take us long to become dependent and overuse our dominant eye. And some of you may find that when you start obstructing, that maybe after only 5 minutes or a couple of minutes, you're going to start feeling some eye strain in the non-dominant eye. So it's important that you take this exercise nice and slow and build up. Obviously younger people have this a lot easier because they've not got as many years of over-dominating with that one eye. So it's easier for them to be able to rest that dominant eye, but it's a great habit for them to start getting into now to prevent the overuse and fatigue in the future. So just start off slow, cover it for maybe 5 minutes. Say you're watching the movie, you wear the glasses for say 5 minutes or the piece of paper, and then just take it off again for 10-15 minutes, and then maybe you pop it on again for another 5 minutes. Now someone like myself, I obstruct for several hours a day. I've been doing this for many years now, so for me, I'm able to watch a movie and I don't feel strain in my eye, and in fact instead I feel that my dominant eye is more rested, and I can actually feel that my non-dominant eye is a lot more active. But it took time to get that way, and I strongly suggest that you're very slow with this to begin with, and try and be very observant of how you're feeling with the dominant and non-dominant eye, whether there is any strain going on. But likewise, try and be alert to if you feel that your eye is rested at all, especially those of you that are sitting at the computer for long periods of time. Just pop the glasses on for maybe 5 minutes and then take them off again and see if you can feel if that eye is a little bit more rested, and it sort of clues you in a little bit more on the times that you're overusing your eye and when it really needs to be rested. So there we are then. I hope you enjoyed this video on how you can make an eye exercise out of something like the Hunger Games. And you can always leave your reply underneath here, post your comments and let us know on your thoughts, or if in fact you find anything else that you can help incorporate your eye exercise into, or indeed any particular movie that you think would be useful for doing this eye exercise for. You can always follow me on Twitter, where I regularly post such ideas as this on how you can work on your eyes, and indeed how I'm working on my eyes. And that's William FullerEN. You can also look me up on Facebook, William Fuller Envision. You can also head over to the Envision Self-Healing fan page and find out a lot more of the activities and what we're up to, and other blogs and posts that we've got going on there. And you can also head over to iTunes and you'll find our weekly podcast that we talk about every week. And in particular, episode, I think it's going to be 7 now, is going to be focusing a little bit more on dominance. So we will be covering this again with Richard and I. You can also head over to envisionselfhealing.com and you can find a free ebook over there that you can download, and that talks a lot more about how we use our eyes naturally and how our eyes were designed to be natural, just like in the Hunger Games, but how in fact now in our modern day lives we're misusing it a little bit. We're not saying that you have to revert back to that lifestyle, but we want people to try and now incorporate healthy visual habits into their lifestyle to help prevent eye strain and indeed improve eyesight. So I hope you like this video. Good luck with your eye exercises this week and happy healing.